James M. Bubb was born on January 8th, 1932.
And where are you currently living?
16943 430th Avenue Northwest, East Grand Forks,
And which war did you serve in?
Korean War.
Korean. Which years were you there?
I went in 51 and got out in 53.
Which branch of the service were you in?
Army,
What was your rank?
Sergeant First Class.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I volunteered for the draft.
Okay. Where were you living at the time when you volunteered?
Right here.
Okay. In this home right here? Okay. Were you born in this house?
No,
No? Okay. What were you doing for work, or how old were you when you went in?
I was 19,
Okay.
and I was helping my dad on the farm.
Okay. So when you left, I suppose he was losing a helper on the farm. How did he feel about that?
Well, I guess they weren't in my favor of volunteering, but I didn't do it because I was patriotic. I just wanted to go somewhere. I was 19 years old and I had been to Fargo once in my lifetime. That's the furthest I had been away from home.
Was there a benefit to volunteering for the draft? Did you didn't get to pick?
No.
No, okay.
I would have been drafted in less than 6 months. And I went to check on it in Polk County, and they said you'll be drafted within 6 months. And I asked if I could volunteer, and they had already picked their draftees for the month. But they said they would check with Marshall County and see, and so they called Marshall County Draft Board, and they hadn't picked yet, so I went in through Marshall County.
Okay. Did you have any friends that went in at the same time as you?
Yeah, they weren't really friends, but I knew them. One was John Pullman from Warren, and Robert Nelson from the Nelson Motor Company, and Bob O'Shock. I knew those three.
Okay.
And another guy named Gordon Holter. He was from Oslo.
So where did you serve?
I went to Camp Breckenridge, Kentucky, and that's where I took my basic training.
Okay. Do you have any memories from basic training?
Oh yeah.
Would you like to share a few of those? Like what were the living quarters like? What kind of food did you have? Do you remember any of the training exercises?
We lived in two-story buildings that were built for during World War II. It was a training camp. It was originally from the 101st Airborne Division, and it was hot. There was no air conditioning, and food was fair to good.
What kind of training exercises did you do?
I took 16 weeks of basic training. infantry training. We'd start at 5 in the morning and until 6 or 7 o'clock. And then when the weather it got so hot in July that we trained from 3 in the morning until noon. And then we had the afternoons off.
Okay.
We took basic training at the 101st Airborne.
But okay, I didn't get the part where you were originally supposed to be paratroopers.
Yeah. And so, but we had graduated from our basic training, and then we were supposed to take our jump training. But the things had gotten hot again in Korea, and they needed infantry soldiers. So they canceled everything, and we all went to Korea instead of, we were supposed to go to 8 weeks of jump school. But,
What did you think about the possibility of being a paratrooper?
oh, I was looking forward to it.
Did you ever get to jump out of a plane?
No, I never did. Because you had to have that special training. But it was worth $50 a month, you know, and that was $50 a month at that time, extra pay. That was quite a bit.
So did you ever go skydiving once you came back home?
No, I never did.
Did you make any friends while you were at basic training?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the guys were from the Midwest, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and Montana.
You went to basic training in Kentucky, and then your basic training was over. So what did you do after that?
I had a 10-day leave to come home, and then I flew to California and shipped to Korea.
Okay. So
Went by ship.
how long did the ship take to get there?
It took about 12 days.
That must have been your first experience on a ship.
Yes, it was.
How did that go?
It was from California to Hawaii. It was nice, but from Hawaii to Japan, it was so rough that they had to keep it closed up so no one could get out on deck.
Oh, wow.
And the waves were probably 20 feet high.
What was it like below deck? I mean, was it dark, or, I mean, what was the living quarters like? Do you remember?
Crowded.
Crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was about 4,000 men on that ship.
Do you remember how big the ship was?
No, it was a big ship, but it wasn't a Navy ship. It was a merchant marine, and the food was awful.
Oh. Do you remember anything specific? Like, what did they serve you?
Chili and rice.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was that every day. But there was so many people that you slept in shifts and you ate in shifts, so you got to sleep 8 hours, and because there wasn't enough bunks.
Yeah. So when you got to Japan and were able to go above deck, I mean, how did that feel?
Japan was beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
What about it was different than here? I mean, what did you see that was so beautiful?
Well, the huge mount, I can't remember the name of the mountain, but the camp was, it was a World War II camp, Japanese camp, but was run by the Americans, and it had good food and showers and nice sleeping quarters, and it was nice, but we weren't there very long, just a few days.
So you were in Japan for a few days, and then where did you go?
Then we went from there to Korea.
What part of Korea were you in?
We landed in Incheon, and we made an amphibious landing.
Can you explain what that is?
Well, the ships stopped probably 10 miles out because the water is not deep enough for, and then they call landing craft. They're a vehicle that can go in the water and on land. They load you into those, and probably 25 or 30 men in each one. And then they take you right up on the shore.
Oh, wow.
But the tide had started to, the landing craft got there late, a few hours late, and so the tide had started going out, so we couldn't make it all the way into, so we had to walk part way in the water. It was probably waist deep
Wow. Okay.
in the mud.
Oh. So, when you got on shore in Korea, then what happened then?
Well, the North Koreans were waiting for us, but we were under fire, but not real heavy, because the destroyers out in the ocean were shelling the shore.
Okay, so you were making your way onto shore while there was like combat going on.
Yeah, there was South or North Korean troops that were firing on us, but it wasn't real heavy fire. But it was, we lost some people.
So when you got on shore, then where did you go?
Well, we immediately started going north and securing the area, clearing out the enemy.
Do you have any specific memories that you'd like to share about that, or anything about that time in combat?
No, it's not. I guess I've kind of put it out of my mind.
Yep. Yeah. Only talk about what you feel comfortable with. That's. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate what you're sharing. So, were you over? You mentioned, like John Pullman, Robert Nelson, that Bubb and Gordon. Were they in the same unit as you?
No, John Pullman was in the. John Pullman got caught hepatitis. There was a hepatitis outbreak on the ship, and he got came down with hepatitis. They called it yellow jaundice, where your eyeballs turn yellow. And so he was, when we got to Japan, he was hospitalized in Japan for about 5 weeks. But when he did come over to Korea, he ended up in the same company as I did. That was the only one out of the bunch. But we weren't in the same platoon. He was in the first platoon and I was in the third platoon. And 3 weeks or about a month afterward, we were in a battle called Pork Chop Hill. It went, and I was in Easy Company, and he was in Easy Company, but the company got kind of wiped out. There was only 16 survived that battle out of 196. And John Pullman was one of them that got killed. He's buried in Warren.
Did you have any injuries?
No, I guess I lucked out, but I never got wounded. Just a few scratches or something, but nothing that I had to get medical attention.
Okay. When you were in Korea, where did you live? Where did you sleep in Korea?
Well, we slept in holes in the ground and caves, and there was a lot of caves that had been dug by the Japanese when they occupied Korea during World War II. And sometimes we used those caves for living in. Sometimes you just lived on top of the ground. Or
What was the weather like while you were there?
the weather is pretty much like it is here. It's the same latitude as we are, but the winters are severe. But the whole peninsula is about 400 miles from the south to the north. And the southern tip is surrounded by the Yellow Sea, which is warm water year-round. And it's warmed by underground volcanoes. So that part of the Korea can be like 35 or 40 above, and when you get 100 miles north, it's probably 30 or 40 below. So it's a big variation.
Yeah. Huh. Do you feel like you had good supplies? I mean, were you warm? Were you fed?
No, we were always cold, but when you don't have buildings to protect you, you're cold. But we had good clothing, but it's not like being in a warm house. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we actually lit a truck or something on fire just to get warm.
How did you stay in touch with your family when you were in Korea?
Just by writing. There was no telephone.
Do you still have all the letters? Did they save the letters?
My mother had all the letters, but after she died, and after I got home, she got rid of them. But she did keep all the letters. And letters were, I can't remember the name of what they had that name. They would look through your mail and cross out certain things.
Oh, redact things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it took about 10 days for a letter to get from there to here, and about the same.
Okay.
But that was the only communication there was.
Okay.
It, like now, you pick up a phone and there's nothing like that.
Was there anything special you did for good luck? I mean, did you have like a good luck charm, or did you do anything that was?
Well, when I went overseas, my mother had a friend. She lived about 4 miles from here, and she gave me a St. Christopher medal. She was Catholic, and they believe that St. Christopher is keep you safe. And she gave me that, and I did wear it, but I don't know. I really didn't wear it for luck. I wore it because she gave it to me.
Mm-hmm. Something from home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. When you were there, were you feeling a lot of pressure or stress?
it's stressful because I don't know, it seemed like you were always tired, and there was always danger of, getting hit, but you can't live worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of accept it. But
So, to kind of relieve yourself from the pressure, was there anything particular that the men in your platoon would do for fun? Like, what did you do to entertain yourself?
Well, when it's just a bunch of men, the entertainment gets kind of raunchy, but
Mm-hmm. But there were times where you could go and have fun.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
you always make. There was always time for a few laughs, but
What did you do on leave?
well, the only leave I had was over there. Was I had a week that they sent us to Japan.
Do you have any specific memories from that time, or it was just nice to get out of Korea?
We drank a lot of beer. We drank a lot of beer and raised hell.
Did they have good beer?
Yeah, it was, and it was cheap. You could get a quart of beer for a quarter, and you could get a whole lobster for a quarter.
Wow.
And it already cooked, ready to eat. Just sit down and tear it apart and eat it. And went to the bars and.
So when you were in Korea, you didn't travel anywhere else other than on your leave to Japan. You were in Korea the entire time. Okay.
I was there 15 months.
15. Okay. Do you recall any like humorous or unusual events?
Well, I guess there was some stuff you considered humor, but
You're gonna take those memories with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty crude.
That's okay. Oh. So, do you recall the day your service ended when you heard that you were going to be able to go home and like the war was over? What did that feel like, and where were you?
I was there when the truce was signed,
Mm.
and it was just the the last 24 hours before the truce was signed. Everybody just stayed underground. You just didn't take a chance.
Mm-hmm. Where was the truce signed, and what was the truce?
Well, that's all that ever was signed. It still hasn't been a official end to the Korean War. It just the truce was drawn up at trying to think of the name of it. At the headquarters. I can't remember the name of that place, but
Were there a lot of people there when it was signed?
you mean a lot of people in the army?
Or I mean, did you see it?
No.
Okay, but you
No.
were in Korea when it was signed. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, and so after it was signed, what happened? What did you do next?
Well, the first thing I done was I walked up to a Chinese soldier and we traded cigarettes.
Hmm.
And an hour before that, we would have shot each other.
Wow, that's amazing. Were you scared? Were you scared to do that? Did you have any fear going up to him?
No, it was officially over.
Mm-hmm.
No one was carrying weapons.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Did it take a long time for you to get back home?
Yeah, I was there. About 4 more months before I got home because we were occupying the southern Korea, South Korea, so everything south of the 38th parallel.
Mm.
So you had to finish your time.
And then did you take a ship back from Japan to Hawaii and then to California?
Yeah, we came right straight to California.
Okay.
But it was a Navy ship, and it was good food, and it was an aircraft carrier, and you could play baseball on the landing deck. And
Were you able to come home after you got back to California, or did you have to serve a little bit more time?
no, I had a 30-day leave, and then I went back to Camp Carson, Colorado, and I had 5 months left to serve on my enlistment.
So were you 21 when you were done?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So after you got done serving, did you work or did you go to school, or what did you do when you were 21 and were able to come back home?
After I got back home, I started working for my dad on the farm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I didn't go to any college or.
Mm-hmm. Did you continue any of the relationships you formed while you were in the Army?
Only 3 or 4.
Okay.
That, and a couple were from Pennsylvania. One was from Michigan, and one was from New York City.
Did you ever meet up with them again?
Yeah, a couple of them. And the one of them, 2 years later, he was in a car accident and he got brain damage, so he ended up in a nursing home. And the one in Pennsylvania came and saw me once, and I went to his place. He worked in the coal mine. The guys from New York, I just wrote letters to once in a while, and he ended up in prison. He was a member of the mafia
Oh, wow.
from the time he was in high school. And then, but he ended up in prison, and I don't know if he died in prison or, because I just lost contact with him.
Wow. I bet he has some stories.
Yeah.
Did you join a veterans organization?
Yeah, I belong to a veteran of foreign wars in the American Legion.
Okay. All right. So, what did you do for work after the war? I mean, you said you came home and worked for your dad on the farm. Were you a lifelong farmer?
Yep. I farmed all my life.
And
I ended up, after my dad and mother died, I ended up on this home quarter, and I've been here ever since,
wow.
since '73.
Wow, that's really amazing. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
Oh, I guess it did. I enjoyed I learned a lot from the Army. I learned a lot about myself, which I would have probably never had a chance to, but as far as, I think everybody that's been killed since World War II has been killed for nothing. Because they just, they give back the country to the same kind of people that you ended up fighting to take it from. I don't think, they didn't do that in World War II. They occupied those countries for a couple generations till the people started thinking different. Now they just give it back to the same people, seems like.
Yeah.
But that's the politicians that do that. It's not the military. The military is a good experience for anybody, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how when I asked you if it was pressure or stress, and that when you brought up that worrying about something wasn't going to do anything anyway, I thought that was that's a good life lesson. Do you feel like you followed that lesson throughout your life?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, did you have any children?
Yeah, I had 3.
Okay, and who are they?
Michael and Andrea and Kimberly.
Okay. And you're married?
Yeah, my wife died, it'll be 3 years in June.
Okay.
We were married 60 years.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations.
It's a long time.
That's amazing. I've only been married 12 years, so I have a ways to go.
Yeah, you got any kids yet?
I have one son, yeah. Yeah. Oh, so did your son or daughters enroll or enlist in the military at all?
No.
No.
They, they, they quit the draft before my son was old enough for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I have two grandsons that are, one went to the Naval Academy. He graduated in 2002.
Mm.
And he's a commander now in the Navy, and I have another, his brother is in the Army. He didn't go to West Point, but he went, he's an officer, and he's a major.
Wow. That must make you pretty proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of those guys.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this interview that we haven't gone over?
No, you know, there was so few of us that survived an easy company. And I think about all those guys once in a while and of everything that they missed by dying young. But they're forever young.
Yeah.
They never had to getting old is no fun either.
Yeah. Do you have any stories like from the men that you named, like Gordon, John, Robert, or Bob? Do you have any stories involving them that you'd like to share?
Well, the only one that ended up with me was John Pullman,
Mm-hmm.
and he got killed. And Gordon was a goofball. But he ended up going to Germany, so I don't know whether. I didn't try to get real close to people because it's hard enough when you lose them, but so you try and avoid getting too close to them.
Mm-hmm.
But Pullman and I were good friends.